at the end of the day, a lot of these quotes you can apply directly to life itself. If life was smooth sailing, what would be the point?
Ooh.
What do you learn from life if you have everything handed to you? You never have to worry. You're never sad. You're never happy. You're just mellow the entire time.
Yeah, I almost said Q&A because we were just talking about it, but it's not Q&A. This is Beyond the Surface. Number 2. We've already recorded a couple of these, but we scratched them. We went ahead and just did some different shit. I'm going to turn that camera real quick now that I'm looking at the screen. There we go. Yeah. Rolling with some more video now lately, so I got the screen to actually look at this time. Normally I don't have a screen to look at.
I saw that's new.
Yeah. I bought it originally thinking I would use it for videography, but I don't think it's way too big, I feel like, to put on top of my camera so you can see better of what you're shooting.
True.
But that's just a nightmare. And the quality on it looks worse than it is.
Oh,
so
okay.
it would throw me off. I'd be like, oh, shit, this is
Just
so
stop
bad.
it right away.
Yeah.
It's like, shit, I need to do something.
Yeah, my bad. But yeah, so Beyond the Surface, number 2. And we're going to go top quotes. And I got this idea actually from another podcast that I was listening to, and they did he actually went through a lot of quotes of this singular person that he like tweeted or talked about in his podcast and stuff. And I actually have a couple of them here today, but like when I was writing mine down, like Widow's top quotes, it was like things that have done a lot for me in my life, or like quotes that kind of stuck with me in my life. So yeah, that's kind of where I went with it. But the first one, I'm going to start off with my own. I don't even know if it's necessarily my quote. I feel like I've probably heard it somewhere else, but I say it all the time on a podcast, and it's, you will learn more from your failures than you ever will your successes. Because that one right there is always stuck with me. I'm not always good about remembering that, but it's the fact of just because you fail doesn't mean it's the end all be all. And sometimes when we fail, especially I'm guilty of it, where it's like, fuck, everything went wrong, it's screwed, one little thing went wrong, it's a failure. But also at the same time, I've learned, you learn later in life, or maybe later after the fact, of how much your failure impacted you, whether it's good or bad. So that's one of my quotes that I honestly like really stick with anymore.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you learn a lot more from failing than you do winning, or not winning, I guess, or accomplishing said goal. Main reason being just putting it in like a sports perspective.
I fucked it all up. The video's still rolling. For some reason, I'll talk about this when I get back recording. All right. We're live again. For some reason, when I plug shit in to these, it does it over there too. When I plug my phone in, the lights on over there quit working for a second, and then they pop back on. So I don't know what it is. It's like when you plug something in on that, it decides it doesn't want to work anymore.
Just protecting the power surge,
I guess, but we're back. Yeah.
But kind of what I was saying there is like putting it in a sports perspective. Like you definitely learn a lot more from your losses.
Yeah.
Like an undefeated team, yes, you still have film sessions. You still you could do this better, but hey, we won. It's like, whereas when you lose, it's like, hey, we got to turn this shit around. We got to figure out why did we lose? What can we do better? And then you force yourself to be better. Whereas like if you're always on the top of the podium, then you're not going to feel like you need to do anything better when you should always be improving.
I mean, you can look at sports especially. Like, look at the teams that a lot of times when they lose a game, that next game for them, they absolutely like dominate because they're like, I don't fuck that. Like, that sucked. I don't want to do that again. And it kind of gives you that fire, too. It's like when you fail or when you lose, it's like, I don't like this feeling.
Right.
And I don't want to feel this again. Like, I want to win. Like, it's bred into us, like, as human beings to succeed and win. You know, granted, social media and everything plays a factor into that nowadays, and it's not about comparing yourself to others. It's about being the best you you can be, and you don't want to be viewed. I don't even want to say this way, but you don't want to be viewed as a loser or somebody that doesn't accomplish anything.
Right.
You want people to look at you and be like, damn, you almost want people to admire you of what you do. Granted, that doesn't necessarily matter as long as you are happy. And it's kind of hard to explain how I wanted to put that. I didn't put that the exact way I wanted to.
Well, I mean, I think I kind of know what you're trying to say. You want to be a role model.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I know you and I both like are role models to some people. Maybe I think about it a bit, but it doesn't impact kind of what I do on a day to day. You know, just try to be the best version of myself. And hopefully if someone is looking up to me, they see that, hey, like I can do it too, you know?
I actually, last night was around my nieces. One of my nieces was like, I had somebody come up to me in school and was like, does your uncle have a podcast? And she was like, yeah. And she was like, he was like, is he famous? And I was like, first off, no. I told her, I was like, I need you to understand, no, I am not famous at all. But it was just like one of those things where you never know who's watching. So always try to be that person. But that also makes you feel good because it's like, all right, I am doing something good, I'd like to say. Like, you're doing something successful.
Yeah.
And people acknowledge it.
Yeah, just spreading, like, at the end of the day, just spreading positivity to others, or just, ultimately, you definitely learn a lot more from when you're at your lowest than you are at your peak.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. What you got for me?
So the first one I got, I think I originally heard this said by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, but doing a little bit more research, it looks like it came from someone else. But the quote is, "When you're going through hell, keep going." And it's a quote from Winston Churchill. I heard it from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson first, but just a little more research shows that Winston said it first. This quote, I think it kind of aligns with many teachings of coming up in sports background or just in general adversity. Mm-hmm. Hey, when you face adversity, you're gonna run from it or you're gonna run through it. You know. So when you're going through hell, keep going, because at the end of the day, when you hit rock bottom at any point, the only direction from rock bottom is up.
Yep.
You can only improve from there. So when you hit that point, when you hit hell, just keep pushing through it and make the most out of every opportunity that presents itself.
Yeah, there's actually a country song called "If You're Going Through Hell," and it's probably based off of that quote. I'm assuming now that I know that. It's like, if you're going through hell, keep on going. Don't look back. I forget exactly how it goes, but it's kind of that whole thing of like, it can't get worse, so just keep going through it, because that's a lot of people, and it's kind of going through the failures thing too, back to that of like, hell is failing. You are failing somewhere, and you're going to learn from it. You're going to improve from it. So, and like you said, the only way is up.
Exactly.
There's nowhere else to go but up from hell, from rock bottom.
Yeah, and that's like...
And we've all been to... Everybody's rock bottom is different, but we've all had our rock bottom. And we all know, like I say that, and I guarantee you everybody that's listening pictured in their mind exactly when that point was. We all know when it was.
Yeah. And like, that's really what, whenever I'm like talking to like friends, family, or just like really being like a support person for someone going through something, like I typically try to say that it's like, hey, it's only up from here, you know? It might not feel that way. It really might not. And it's hard to feel like when you're like so overcome with emotion or like sadness, it's hard to actually see the bigger picture of, hey, it's going to get better.
Yeah.
But, just having kind of that in mind, really like thinking, hey, when you're going through hell, keep going. It's like, hey, it will get better. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but at some point I'll look back on this and be like, damn, I made it, you know?
But going off of that, it's only going to get better if you make it better.
Yeah.
No one else can do it for you. And that's the thing, is when we hit rock bottom, it's not everybody else's fault. It's our fault. That's what sucks. It's a very hard thing to admit that I am in rock bottom because of myself. I allowed myself to get there because your rock bottom maybe could have been a little bit higher. What the hell?
Holy shit, that scared me, bro. I
I'm
hopefully
glad I
we have
got
a
that
clip
on-
of that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my god.
Hey, let's not. Come here.
Fucking Garfield.
Yeah, no shit.
Need some
He got a
lasagna.
bath not too long ago, and he actually is skinnier than he looks.
Hey, just fluffy, you
He's
know.
fluffy as hell. But yeah, it's our rock bottom could have been a little bit higher, but we allowed it to get lower. And a lot of people that are very successful in life don't allow themselves to get that bottom because of the fact that they realize, oh, I'm going down this path, time to change.
Mhm.
Something's got to change. And I'm bad about that, of not realizing when things are going down. I'm not great at that, but I do like that quote of, if you're going through hell, just keep going.
Yeah, and I mean, dude, it can just be applied to so many different situations of depression, addiction, mental health crisis. Like when you're in a mental health crisis, of just really, I mean, and it's shitty to say sometimes because everyone's like, hey, you need to talk to someone. You need to talk to someone when you're going through like certain things. And like you and I mean, I know you pretty well. You know me. We don't really talk about issues often. So it's like, and it's not an easy thing to do. It's not like you're going to wake up tomorrow like, oh, yeah, I'm ready to talk about everything. So
I remember I talked to you about a few things in college that I was going through, but it was like, that's when it finally would get to the point of like, I have to talk to somebody,
Right.
or I'm going to lose my shit.
Right.
Like, and it should have happened sooner, but it's very hard as a man, especially, to talk about that kind of shit.
yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, like, and what you meant by it really only takes you, it literally takes yourself to look yourself in the mirror like, hey, I need to fucking change. Like,
Yeah.
something needs to happen, or I'm going to be in the same place that I'm feeling, or have the same feelings that I am right now for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So I either deal with it and stay this way, or get better, you know?
And a lot of times when we're at our low, we don't like ourselves.
Right.
We recognize that fact, but it's whether we do anything about it.
Exactly.
That's the big thing. But the other quote kind of stems off of that a little bit. And it's
Perfect.
one I got hung up here. I bought that in college. And because it's just it's kind of life in a way. And it's the Rocky quote of, the world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place. It'll beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how much you can take and keep moving forward. I forget the exact fucking thing. It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. And, you know, kind of going off of that as well, there's a little bit more after that fact of you are what is it? I can't even remember now. I used to have that shit memorized. That honestly, it's kind of nice to say, but life's been good.
Mhm.
So like, I haven't had to like look at that quote or like really feel like I needed that quote. But it is the whole thing of, the world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. And I heard another thing of like, it was in a song, I think, is, as you grow older, the world just gets colder. And it's true. Like, you start to, people, like, when we're kids, when we're freaking in high school, like, yeah, we have our drama, but everybody's friends and everybody likes everybody. And then you kind of get to this point in your careers of where, like, you'll see some shit where people are like, if you rub them the wrong way, fuck you, I'm not making a deal with you. Like, it's kind of even political, like you see in politics all the time and that kind of shit. But like, the world's not sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place. That is the truth. That is the truth. Whether we want to admit it, it doesn't matter about anything. The world is not sunshine and rainbows, and it never will be. It can't be. There's no possible way, because not everybody's going to agree with everybody. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. That's the big thing. How many times are you going to get knocked down, get back up?
Exactly.
How many times can you get hit and get back up and hit somebody else back? I'm not meaning that literal. Like,
I mean, hey, you never
sometimes
know.
you might have to. I get that part, but like, it's literally about how much you can take and just keep going through it and it's going through hell. You're going to end up in hell. Just keep going.
Yeah, and I think as you, and kind of like you mentioned, man, as you grow older, you really start to figure out, I wouldn't say figure out life, but you start to figure out that like everybody has a different life experience, and when you are younger, you have so much love around you, even if it's not like real love per se. You just have so many friends all the time. You show up to school, hey, you're saying what's up to everybody. You played sports, you had the whole sports team, all of that. Once you move on past that stage of life,
nobody gives a fuck
yeah,
about you.
Like you said, it gets colder, bro, because everyone's so spread out. Like some of my best friends from college live in other states, live in Texas, all over. Everyone has their careers, and then you get to the point where like tragedies kind of start to happen too, or people pass away, and it's just it's hard to fathom sometimes of like someone like our age like passing away or anything like that, but it just really opens your eyes. Like you never know when the last time you'll see someone is, what the last thing you'll say to them is, and if you start treating kind of every interaction with someone, even if it's not your best friend in the world, maybe it's someone who just really had an impact on you. If you start treating that time you see them as maybe possibly the last time you see them, I feel like a lot of more positive or meaningful interactions will come from those kind of instances.
Dude, I've been surrounded by so much like, I don't want to just say death, but death and tragedy lately.
Oh, dude, the past 2.5 months have been fucking horrible.
Me and you have two people that we are thinking of off the top of our head. We're not going to name any names on this, but it's like, especially the one when you told me, it literally stopped. Like I had nothing to say. I didn't even know how to react.
Yeah.
And it made me appreciate, like you kind of mentioned, like treat everything like it might be the last time you see him. It made me appreciate the last time, the one that I'm thinking of specifically, that we did spend together.
Mm-hmm.
Like I hadn't seen him in years. And when like he was on the podcast and everything, and that it made me appreciate that so much more. And then, I just went to a funeral on Friday for somebody that randomly passed away at a heart attack, 49 years old.
Holy shit, I'm sorry to hear that.
At a dinner table. Eating dinner with your family and have a heart attack and die. And then like on top of that, I know somebody else that's in a hospital that had a heart attack. I'm not close with them by any means, but like it makes you realize how precious life is and how quickly it can be gone.
Yeah.
And it is, you never know when the last time that you get to speak to somebody is. And the world would be a hell of a lot better place if they realize, hey, this is the last time I'm going to talk to this person.
Yeah.
But that's also, we don't always think about that. It's not something that I'm saying like I'm really good at. Like every time I see somebody, I'm like, man, this is the best. Like I'm going to cherish this moment. I'm not the best at that. It's normal to be human and not recognize, because we never realize when that is. Like you're never going to know when that is. And that's the weird thing about God and everything like that, is you never know when the last time you're going to talk to somebody is.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's changed a lot, man. And not that we were really coherent or like even alive in like the early 90s or 80s. But technology has made life so busy.
Yes.
I feel like technology or just social media, you're always trying to distract yourself from the present moment. Where and what I'm trying to really start to do is like live in the moment. Yeah. If you think too far ahead, you're going to scare the shit out of yourself.
Oh, yeah.
If you think about the past, you're just going to either be pissed or reminisce or like, oh, what if I did this? What if I did that? If you live in the moment, then you really cherish the journey and cherish the, hey, one step forward. Maybe I take a step back, but I'm going forward no matter what. So really living in the moment and allowing, like, breathe fresh air, smell the fresh cut grass, like shit like that, man, is like, you just got to start to like appreciate the little things sometimes.
Going off the steps, sometimes that step back is a step forward.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to if you don't take that step back, you're going too fast and you miss something.
Yeah.
And then you're going to take 10 steps back instead of 1.
Yep.
So like that's where I've got a lot better at personally of, all right, take a step back, look at the picture. All right, now I can go. Like I whether it was the same journey I was going to originally take, or maybe I had to, all right, I need to change this. I need to do it this way, or like business, life, whatever it is. It's those step backs sometimes are very much needed. Now, I'm not saying take a step back all the time, because sometimes you take too many step backs, you're delaying your process of just go. So, yeah, that's good.
Or even like, and then after I say this, I'll read my next quote. But think about climbing a big mountain. Nobody just wakes up on the top. Nobody.
No. You know how they climb a mountain?
Yeah.
They go up, and then
Come
they
back
actually
down.
come back down.
Yep.
Then they go up a little further, come back down a little bit. Like, that's the thing. That's such a good analogy
Yeah.
for it. Yeah.
Because if everyone just woke up on the top of the mountain, what how is that special?
It wouldn't be.
Or if you take a fucking helicopter to the top of the mountain, like, you didn't climb it.
No.
You didn't like, I mean, okay, it's probably beautiful up there. Congrats. But you didn't like all the blood, sweat, and tears of the people that have climbed it, and it's an experience and all of that. Like, that's the journey. That's
Yeah.
that's life, you know?
Life's a journey. Life's a roller coaster.
Hell yeah, brother. And actually, this is actually, wow. I did not plan this. I didn't, but this is kind of perfect with kind of what I said with like really appreciating what you have in the moment. So if you look at what you have in life, you'll always have more. If you look at what you don't have in life, you'll never have enough. And that is a quote from Oprah Winfrey.
That's a good one.
It's just really, again, it's kind of that like the half glass full, half glass empty of, hey, if you really look around and what you have around you, appreciate what you have around you. But if you look at what you don't have, you'll never have enough because you're always chasing.
The grass ain't always greener on the
Exactly.
other side.
And it's even with like, think about money, bro. Like neither of us come from absolute like wealth by any means, you know.
No.
But like, say we both become, and hey, I do want this. Hopefully one day, or we'll become millionaires, right?
Mm-hmm.
When someone becomes a millionaire, they don't stop. They want more. They want to double it. They want to triple it. It's never enough, even no matter how much money you have. So if you just look around you and appreciate what you have, you always have more at the end of the day.
This leads me perfectly into my next quote. I don't know how we did this.
Yeah,
is
no,
not
this
planned.
is
We did not know each other's quotes. We did not plan any of this. But I'm just gonna go into it, and then we can kind of base off of both of them. But it is a quote that I love, and it's hit me recently. And it was, "You have already achieved things that you said would make you happy." And it's kind of going off of that, going off of what you said. You're always chasing something. We always have the thing that we are chasing, that we want to have happen. But when we get happy with that, then there's a new goal.
Yep.
And you can continuously play that game. That game will never end if you look at it that way. When I get here, I'll be happy.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm here, I'm happy. In reality, you're always going to have a new goal.
Mm-hmm.
More. I want more. Because we are greedy by our nature. It is in our blood. Whether every single person in this world is greedy to a degree. And you cannot tell me differently, in my opinion, because we all have that little bit of greed. Whether it's money, whether it's fame, whether it's love. Time. Yeah, like we are greedy in some aspect of life. And you've already achieved things that you said would make you happy. The grass ain't always greener on the other side.
And maybe greedy isn't the best word for it. Maybe it's ambitious. It's like a human nature to be ambitious.
That's the better way to look at it. As a more positive way to look at it, I guess.
Just because greed, I mean, greed is like kind of has a negative connotation on it in a sense, but yeah, just being ambitious and all. Like a perfect example for me is when I got promoted last year. Like I saw like the pay scale, all of that good stuff. I was like, oh wow, like no, I'm gonna be perfectly fine with this. I'll be super happy. Now I'm a year into that role, and I'm like, what's next for me?
The same exact thing with me happened when I went to salary. I'm going to be great.
Yeah, it's perfect. Dude.
Now
yeah.
I'm like, I need more money.
Exactly. So it's always just it's I mean, I think it is more detrimental to be content than to be ambitious. Once you become content, I feel like you start to stall a bit. And
Yes.
you just kind of sit there. No one wants to be stagnant. Life isn't stagnant. It's up and down. So like being ambitious isn't a bad thing. It's just really appreciating what you do have around you to understand that, hey, okay, maybe it's going to take a little bit more time for me to go to this next level, but I'll make it.
This isn't one of the quotes on my list, but kind of going off of that is complacency kills progress.
Mm-hmm.
And it is true. Like if you get complacent, guess what? You're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you're at now. And we should always strive as human beings to be a little bit better. Nobody's perfect. Nobody will ever be perfect. There is no such thing as a perfect human being. You could always be better in some aspect. Nobody's the master at every single thing that you can think of in this world. All right, cool. I am the best football player in the world. Go play basketball.
Right.
You're not the best. So you're
Go
not
try to hit a baseball.
Yeah.
You know?
Like those kind of things. Like there's always something that you could be better at. Now, perfecting your craft, like whatever it is, I think you should strive for that. I'm not saying you should take on a million different things to try and be perfect at. But it's, if we think that we do no wrong and we are the best human being, the perfect human being, you're wrong. Because there's always something that you can improve at. Whether it's, you know what? I'm really good at work. I'm really good at my job. I make a lot of money. I have a really bad relationship with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
I have a really bad relationship with my family. That's something you can improve. There's always some type of thing that you can improve on. And it's hard to balance. And that's what people talk about, the balance of you're not going to be perfect at everything. You have to try and balance it out. And sometimes, you know, that balance will get out of whack and you might have 80% here, 20% here, 5% here, whatever it is. That was not 100%, but we'll go with it. And it's just like you have to try and find that balance. And sometimes balance does not always mean 50-50.
No. And I mean, really, life is about balance. I mean, I got the comedy and tragedy like faces tattooed on me. Just because I truly think that life is a balance of the highs and lows, of course, and
Yes.
we've said it a bunch of times on this podcast. I don't want to go too deep into it since we're going through quotes, but really it is all about like just finding that balance in every aspect of life.
Yeah.
Time management, financially, anything of that nature, just finding the balance at the end of the day. My next one is, I mean, you'll definitely know this one. It's kind of mainstream per se, but just you'll miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and that was said by Wayne Gretzky. And
Michael Scott.
yeah, it's so true. Like, if you don't give it a fair chance, how do you can't expect it to succeed if you don't even try,
Yeah.
you know? Or you never want to get to that point in your life where you look back 10 years and you're like, damn, what if I did try that? I didn't even try it, so I don't know if I would have succeeded.
Yeah.
So why not give it a shot? If you fail, you fail. Who
Yeah.
cares?
Yeah.
You know, just keep going, keep taking those shots.
That's something that was the biggest thing of like starting this podcast and then starting a business. Now that I have, it's weird to say that I have my own business, but like I literally got to the point where I was like, what if you don't do it? What if you do it? And it was kind of Russ, I think, said it on some podcast. I forget the name of it. I listened to it, but he said, what was the best piece of advice that you ever got? And what if it could turn out better than you ever imagined? And you could play the what if game all day long, but what if it did turn out better than you ever imagined? Like, you have to take that chance. And that's a big thing. Dan Davis, that I just recently had on the podcast, they have Mindset Matters Athletics. They have a book and they have a 7-step program called Elevate. And one of the things that they talk about in there, I forget exactly which one it's on, but it's kind of trying to avoid risk less. And especially, it's meant for younger athletes, especially. Like, they try to tell the younger athletes, take the chance. Because you have way more time to rebound compared to, like, a 47-year-old dad.
Right.
So, like, take the chance if you mess up and it's maybe not the path you want to go down. But at the same time, we all should take chances. As we get older, they have to be more calculated. That's
Yeah.
all it is. you have to think about, because you have a family that you are supporting, like, that kind of stuff. So take the chance, because you never know what's going to come out of it. And that's, if you don't take the shot, you're going to miss 100%.
Yeah, and that's what I think about every Sunday when I put a full slate of parlays down, Hey, if I don't bet this, I can go and win it,
I've gave up on sports betting for right now. I've taken my break. It's last night I about deposited money, but it was already at like 10 o'clock, so I was like, now's not the time. Maybe next weekend I will.
Yeah,
So
no.
I was watching like the LSU game, and I was like, oh, God, I should have bet on this.
Yeah, no. I'm just, all jokes there, of course, but I mean, it is really true. Just say you'll miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so why not give it a chance?
I'm
You
gonna
never know what
kinda
will happen.
expand off of that, and it's a very similar quote. And it was, I already lost it. Oh. What would you do if you weren't afraid? That's a question that I feel like we should ask ourselves a lot, and it could be followed by your quote that you just said.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Because, I mean, if we ask ourselves, what would you do if you're not afraid? If we ask ourselves that, like, once a week even, I guarantee you we start taking those shots.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, we're all afraid to ask that girl out. We're all afraid to start that business. We're all afraid to have that meeting with our boss, that kind of shit. And it's like, what would you do if you weren't afraid? You'd do it 100%. If you weren't afraid, and that's the thing, is that's what's stopping. If fear is the only thing that's stopping you, it's because you have a good feeling that it is a good idea, but there are going to be some repercussions to it. Whether it's you need to have that talk with your spouse. Guess what? It might make the relationship shaky for a couple days. Maybe it'll last longer. Granted, that's on you. But it's a conversation that needs to be had.
Right.
I need to have a conversation with my boss because I feel like I need a raise, but I'm afraid to do it because I don't want to lose my job. Okay, if you lose your job because of it, usually that's because you probably didn't need to be in that job in the first place. Right. So it's, what would you do if you were not afraid?
Yeah, you have to be willing to have those hard conversations, especially as you grow older. It's because, like, words left unsaid are just, they mean nothing because you didn't say them,
No regrets.
Yeah. And, like, both of those quotes is kind of like when Nell and I started having a conversation about him wanting to, like, really focus on streaming. And I was like, dude, why not just try it, Like, you right now, you're young. You're still living at home. Like, you have the perfect opportunity to actually give this a shot. Why not just try it? If it doesn't work, hey, I mean, dude, it doesn't work. Yeah. But you don't want to regret this, No. You're not getting younger. No. So why not just give it your fair chance now? Put your absolute all into it. See what happens with it.
Because as you get older, it's going to be harder to start it.
Yeah.
As you develop a relationship with a significant other, as you start to have a family, as you get deeper into your career, it's going to be way harder to start it. I wish I'd have got into videography way earlier because I probably wouldn't be working the job I am. That's what I'd probably be doing.
Right.
And because it's something that I wish I'd have started a podcast earlier. Because, like, I look at it now and I'm like, man, if I'd have started all of this way earlier, I would have a job of, now this kind of goes back to, you've already achieved things that would make you happy, but I would have essentially a stay-at-home job where I control my schedule. Now, granted, entrepreneurship sounds so sexy. There'd be a lot of stresses that come with it, but I'd have the things that I kind of envision.
Right.
I'd already have them if I had started earlier.
Right. And at the end of the day, it's never too late, of course, but I mean, the earlier you start, the more, I guess, the more opportunity you have to, like, sway. Yeah. Once you get that mortgage, once you get that car payment, you're gonna have to have money coming in. So if you're already at that point in your life where you have bills that have to be paid every month, you're gonna have to have a job to support those bills and then chase your dream on the side. Yeah. Whereas if you don't have those yet, chase your dream.
Yes.
Put all of that into your dream. See what makes of it or what happens, and then we can focus on the rest later.
Yeah, especially if you don't have bills, that's the time. That is the time because Guess what? If it doesn't work out, then you go get a job like you normally would.
Exactly.
Like you go get a normal 9-to-5 per se. Like it's way easier. This cat just wants to be on the podcast so bad.
Mascot today.
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, like you chase them when you're young, but like you mentioned, it's never too late. That's the thing too, is a lot of people are like, I can't do it now because I'm, this and that, and it kind of goes back to what would you do if you weren't afraid?
Yeah, exactly. And my last two quotes are very similar. I won't say them both at once, but this next one is, I guess it's really not as deep as the other ones that we've shared, but it's really one that has like stuck with me, and anybody that played baseball in middle school will know it as soon as I say it. And it's just, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And Coach Hartley said that. Shout out Coach Hartley for real. Probably, I mean, as a young man in middle school, one of like a great coach to have, and a great mentor or man figure to have, just because he was super strict and taught you show up on time, show up prepared, all of that good stuff. But if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And a lot of people are like, what the hell?
I want you to expand
Yeah.
on it before people start bashing us.
Yeah, no. And I think, and what I take from this is, by any means necessary, to like just say, like in sports, like winning, not I'm just bringing this to football, but on every football play there is a penalty. It might not be called.
Yeah.
Someone's holding. Someone is maybe accidentally grabbed a face mask. Someone pass interfered with the receiver. Anything, but having that drive or that edge of quote unquote cheating, or kind of being one step ahead of everyone else, is really how you succeed in a sense. So don't want anyone to be like, what the hell are you trying to say? I'm not saying like, hey, cheat on your girlfriend. I'm not trying to say all that shit. I'm saying like,
That's
hey,
a different kind of cheating. We're not talking about cheating.
No, I'm just saying, hey, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, because everyone who wants to succeed will find a way to do it, no matter what. Hey, he's staying up here now.
Yep. Yeah, there's always a loophole.
Yeah.
Look at Ohio State, Oregon.
Yeah.
It's not cheating, per se.
It's just a loophole.
It's just a loophole. Cheating could mean loophole, too. That's what people don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, there's ways around things. It was my boss in college at the job I worked. And so Alex Smith came and visited one weekend, parked in a staff-only spot on the weekend, and got a ticket. And I went in, and I was like, it was the weekend. I was like, he's parked there before and never got a ticket. And she was like, yeah, but how many times have you sped and never got a ticket? And I was like, oh, that's good. Like, you got to think, it's only illegal when you get caught, per se. Now, I'm not saying do illegal shit until you get caught, but, like, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. It's good. I do like that. And that's not a quote that a lot of people, I feel like, would put in maybe their top quotes, but it's at the same time, cheating is in a way of, like, you weren't saying, like, do morally wrong or that kind of stuff. You were saying, like, there's ways around it.
Yeah, and it's
Wayland.
like, there's tons and tons of like very like quotes that are from like prominent figures, like I guess leaders or just famous people, but for that to stick with me from 7th grade baseball, and I still remember that, like, it means something, It's like, you don't have to take it as, you got to kind of like dig beyond the surface of the quote, of course, and really dissect it for what you want it to mean for you. And that's how all quotes are at the end of the day. Like, hey, you could read me a quote and be like, what the hell are you talking about? But you wake up and say it to yourself every day, and it pushes you and drives you to be better. Hey, more power to you, man.
Yeah. So kind of going into my next quote is also similar to this. I still don't understand how we did it, but the quote I have is, nobody cares, work harder.
Mm-hmm.
And, you could say all these excuses for yourself of, I'm not where I want to be because of X, Y, and Z, or I am here, and look at me, and nobody cares.
Mm-hmm.
Work harder. Literally, nobody ever, especially, and it's kind of going back to as you grow older, the world gets colder. Nobody cares. Just do more.
Or the excuses are like assholes. Everybody has one, and they all stink.
That's 100% exactly. You're right. I've always heard that one too, and that's a good one. That one was a sports one a lot of times.
Coach Hartley used to say that shit too, man.
Yeah.
That dude, a bunch of good quotes from that guy, for real.
We had quotes from Coach Warrington too, but they weren't necessarily quotes that you were like, Oh, that's gonna stick with me. I mean, they stuck with us for the rest of our lives, but
Yeah, lot of fantastic quotes from Coach Warrington. I hope he's doing well. A lot of them are more a lot of his speeches and things they used to say to us really got me like so fired up, man. But he was so strategic with the way he talked to the team. You know, it wasn't like, oh, let's go fucking kill him. No, it was like he would like build up on it, and then it's like he drops something. It's like, oh,
Yes.
you know. But yeah, man, yeah, great guy. Now my last quote that I have here, you'll know this one too. It's one that like I forget what video or what. I don't remember when I first heard it, but I know we've both talked about it before. But when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. And that's by Eric Thomas.
Eric Thomas.
And
E.T.
dude, it's so true though. Like you have to breathe to live. If you hold your breath, like if we both held our breath right now, no, like I don't think either of us is strong-minded enough to just let ourselves pass out.
Nope.
You know, we're gonna take a breath.
Yep.
So at that point where you're like, holy shit, I can either pass out or breathe. If you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe in that moment, then you'll definitely be successful. There's nothing stopping you.
I just listened to that speech the other day, actually. I was in the truck at work, and it was, I think, right after we talked about doing this podcast, and I was just, like, kind of thinking about some stuff, but then I'm also thinking about my life and, like, where I'm at and, like, feeling stressed on things, not feeling where, like, I want to be or whatever, and I just kind of was like, sometimes I listen to that, and it's like, it kind of gives you that pick-me-up of, like, kind of puts that fire under your ass,
Mm-hmm.
like, I needed that. And it's true. If you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you will be successful. It is such a simple quote, but at the same time, it's so deep. Because when you really look at the grand scheme of it, like you said, if we both held our breath right now, we're not going to pass out. One of us is going to breathe. Like, we're going to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of going off of that as well is if we both did it right now, we held our breath, usually probably the one would give up and then the other one not too long after would give up. And have you ever seen the thing where the guy goes, I want everybody to raise their hand. And he goes, okay, raise it a little bit higher. Why didn't you give 100% the first time?
Damn, yeah.
Why didn't you give it your all at first? And there's always that little bit of extra that we can give.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that a lot. And that quote, I've been listening to that since fucking middle school.
Yeah.
I remember listening to that video and I was like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
as a middle schooler, I was like, this thing is awesome.
It was life-changing for sure. And I mean, dude, it just comes down to if you ever like watch or listen to podcasts or just listen to like a lot of successful people, like successful business men and women, successful influencers, successful streamers, anything of that nature, you hear their story. They didn't start out successful. They had to work for every bit of that. And like if they didn't try their hardest, they wouldn't be in that position that they're in. You know, it's like you have to work. That's the only thing that makes you appreciate success when you're on the top is actually fucking working for it. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're born on the top of Mount Everest, what gets better than that? What gets higher than that?
Yeah.
Nothing. You're like, what do you like? Your only option is down at that point. Why not? I would rather start at the bottom and work my way to the top so I can look back like, damn, I did it.
That's where the cliche comes in of spoiled little rich kid. That's where that comes in. But also it's because, and that's why you also see normally a cycle in family history types things. And it may not be like generation, like, and it may not be mom, son, grandson. Like it may not be that quick, but of where, you know, there was a dude that gave a speech and I can't remember it off the top of my head exactly how it went, but it was my grandfather walked 12 miles to work. My dad drove like a beat up car. I drove a Bugatti. This guy drove a whatever, like he drove something fancier.
It literally takes one person from your like family to break that cycle.
And then it just restarts.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a continuous cycle that continually happens. And that's where that kind of comes in is like the spoiled little rich kid. And that's why people get that. But also, if you're born on top, it's so hard to strive for more because you've always had everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I give a lot of credit to like people like Shaq
Because Shaq, where he goes, what his kids, whoa. His kid said something one time, and he goes, "I'm not rich, or you're not rich. I'm rich."
Mm-hmm.
And it's like good for you, because like he's trying to teach his kids like you're born with a little bit more than a lot of people, but you still have to work if you want my life. You got to work for it. It's not going to be given to you.
That's exactly how like Deion Sanders is too.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I mean, dude, like all of the Sanders are like have it made, right? But Shiloh and Shadur, they NIL now. They were both making their own money. It's not like they need to. Of course, Deion helps that. You know, being like his legacy and him being a prominent figure in the sports space helps it. But they've still had to work their ass off to get where they are, because it's not like, hey, I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna give you this. It's like, no, you got to work for it, bro.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's how anybody should be raised, in a sense. Not that everyone is, but
And I think like people like us growing up the way we grew up, of having to work for our asses off for things we wanted, it makes our kids, like, I feel like when we have kids, we're going to be that type of parent. Like everybody always says, you try to give your kid the life that you never had,
mm-hmm.
but you try to give it to them by teaching them the same lessons.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like is how a lot of people do it.
Yeah.
Like we're going to be the type of parents, I feel like, that are like similar to Shaq. All right, yeah, I have this. You don't. You want this? Here's how you get it.
Right.
Granted, I have a lot of things that can help you along the way. I can teach you a lot of lessons and save you a lot of heartaches because of the fact of the lessons that I have learned. And that's where it's really good to have wise counsel in your life of people that have gone through things, done things. And whether it's a mentor in your life is very important, because it's somebody that can help you avoid mistakes that they've already made.
Or someone who just gives you the tools to succeed but doesn't do it for you. So if I needed something, and like, hey, my mom's like, well, go mow yards to make money. Maybe she would provide me with the mower, and then I do the work of mowing the yards.
Yes.
I'm making the money, but yeah, you gave me the tools to be successful with it.
And that's where I struggle with sometimes, where people are like, oh, well, you were handed this. No. Yes, I was handed maybe one thing, but I was given the tools, like you said. I was given the tools to go do the work. I had to do the work.
Yeah.
But I was given maybe the tools.
Anybody can plant a seed, but you got to water it. You got to take care of it. You know, it's like, oh, if I wanted a garden and I just planted some tomatoes and didn't look at them until I thought they were done, they're probably fucked.
Oh,
you know,
they're dead.
Exactly. So
Trust me.
yeah. So I mean, anybody can plant a seed, but what are you gonna do with that seed to make it grow into what you want it to be?
100%. That's good. Did you do your last one?
Yeah. I just had 5.
Okay, I got one more for us that I'm gonna leave us with. And it's Rogan's talked about it on his podcast, and I feel like it's kind of fitting for the times right now. I feel like it's always fitting for the times, but hard times create hard men. Hard men create soft times. Soft times create soft men. Soft men create hard times. And it kind of goes back to that never-ending cycle that'll always happen. We go through it as a country. We go through it personally. We go through it with family. It is always a cycle that just continues to just go back and forth. And I like it because you experience that almost in your day-to-day life. You have a hard time. You go through it. It makes you hard. All right. I'm too hard. I have everything figured out. All right, wait, now it's kind of getting easy, or I'm laying off, and because it's too easy.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got a soft time. Soft times make me soft. Soft times make hard times. Hard times make hard. It just kind of keeps, you go through it in your day to day. Like you might go through that in a single day, and you will go through that multiple times throughout your life. Of that cycle. That's why I like it, and it's just kind of reminding you too at the same time. No matter what stage you're at, you can get back to hard times or hard men. Mm-hmm. Like you can get back to that guy that was on top of the world. And it's, if you're going through hell, just keep going, because guess what's ahead? Hard men.
Yep.
So that's why I like it. It's just kind of reminds you, it's that daily reminder of no matter where you're at in your life, it's a cycle that you can get back to that point in your life where you're good.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of these quotes you can apply directly to life itself. If life was smooth sailing, what would be the point?
Ooh.
What do you learn from life if you have everything handed to you? You never have to worry. You're never sad. You're never happy. You're just mellow the entire time.
Yeah.
And life, if you I forget what it's called, but it shows like your heartbeat to the like showing that you have a
Yeah.
pulse. When it goes flat, you're dead.
Yep.
Like nobody would want a flat life.
Nope.
Because you don't learn, you don't grow as a person, and you don't get to look back on those things like, damn, I was so down bad, and now look where I am today.
Yeah.
Or look where I'll be in 10 years.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, a lot of these quotes really just life, it's going to knock you down.
Hopefully one of these quotes somebody took with them, because that episode that I listened to where I kind of got this idea from was 3 hours long, and I took a couple of them from that, and that's why that's why I wanted to do this, is because I'm like, somebody's going to take something from this episode. So one of these quotes is going to stick with them. Like you talk with Hartley.
Mm-hmm.
Those quote, for some reason, that quote sticks with me for the rest of my life.
Right.
I'll never forget it. I don't know. You don't. And here's the thing. You said, I don't know exactly why it's still with me, per se. There's going to come a point in your life where you're going to be like, that's why.
Mm-hmm.
And you may not realize that till 10 years later after that, that point happens. And it's no different. Every coach especially taught us some type of lesson that we didn't realize till later in life. And that's the big reason I really wanted to do this episode.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, quotes are so powerful. Like they say, pictures are worth 1,000 words. The words are the important part of any picture, and that's what quotes are.
Yep. That's good. But that's a wrap on this episode of the Roughnecks podcast. Beyond the Surface number 2. This is like take 2 on Beyond the Surface number 2. But the first episode we had to get rid of for reasons we just won't even go into it. But yeah, so that's a wrap on this episode of the Roughnecks podcast. We got more Beyond the Surfaces. We got more guest episodes coming at you. I already got some. This will come out, and then I already have a recording. Like I already have everything planned, so we're good. But until next time, you guys know the deal. Life is hard and it's going to knock you down just like a bull does to a bull rider. I'm looking at the camera to make sure it's still running. Get up, grab the bull by the horns, and take control of your life. Roughnecks, out.